Here we're going to walk through cleaning the Dyson vacuum cleaner. This is a V7 handheld, but my understanding is they're all fairly similar. The V7, V8, they're all pretty similar here in the main parts of it, so this should be relevant. The first parts are pretty easy, just kind of taking apart the main aspects of it. Filter comes right out the top. The kind of taking apart as if you were dumping the contents. From there, you're going to press this button here to take off the top. And then on the bottom, pulling that latch to slide off the canister. This does have some electric going through it, so being careful as you clean that with water. Set that aside for now. This is the motor, the fan, so that shouldn't need much cleaning. It's pretty well protected by this guy, the main filter and filter component. This part is more just plastic, not as much electric in it, so you are able to really give this a deep clean and get it clean. First part is just going to be taking off this latch part. The main tool that you will need is a Torx screwdriver. This first part is a T10 is the size. Close up here. 4 screws. Once you've got all those loose in, it'll kind of slide right off. You can leave those screws there so as not to lose them. And this is probably the hardest part to get apart, particularly getting this outside canister off is very difficult, so I recommend some patience, and I'll show you a few of my recommendations. There are 3 main parts here. The outside canister comes from here, right. This is the rubber seal on the main body, but starting here is an outside canister all the way up to here. This attaches directly to this inside kind of funnel piece, which does go all the way down in there and attaches to the main body, which is our 3rd piece. It attaches, this middle funnel attaches to the main body with some screws, and this outside canister attaches to this inner funnel through about 9 clips. 4 of them are up here on this top part. They're not very big, they're pretty easy, but then there are 5 clips on this level that really hold it in and make it a little bit challenging. So it will take a little bit of patience, and this plastic isn't particularly hard, so be gentle with it. The plastic that holds the bottom piece is much harder, so you can kind of hit into this a little bit and not worry, but be careful with this top part. I'll give you a couple of tips on what I found has worked well, and you can kind of take it and see what works for you. I would recommend first starting off with a little plastic pick and pushing that down in there and then being able to pry it out rather than using a screwdriver. This is going to be much softer on your plastic. So just kind of taking a lap, going all the way around there if you can to get it just a little bit of space, get it off of there and break it back a little bit. The other option, if you have some bike tube pries, those are super helpful. Eventually you can get those in there and pry it back as well. And then you can use a couple of screwdrivers flathead screwdrivers to get some space as well. Again, we're trying to take this outer rim and kind of pry it away from the center. There are these grooves here that seem to be the primary way of doing this from Dyson, but I hadn't seen this as much on the other videos. So what you'll do here is a couple of methods. One is taking a couple of screwdrivers, holding the frame kind of in place with your outer fingers, and then prying this in and out. You might even hear it kind of unclip. You might hear that as you pull it out and then up. That's exactly what we're looking for. As you get that, it's going to kind of unclip, and then again, trying to get it up just a little bit will help. I mentioned there are 5 clips to show you where they're at. They're lined up in between these kind of tubes. The first 2 are right around the front, up from these first 2 tubes right here. And then they're every other one from there. So on this side, I'll show you not that one, but right here, lined up with this. There's one right there. and then there's one straight in the very back, right in between those two grooves, where you can pinch it and pull it off. So I'm gonna go to work here. It'll take a few minutes, but just little by little and patiently getting it off. All right, so we finally have kind of gotten it free. We can tell it's not coming off yet, but it is rotating. So those bottom clips are off. The top clips here are located in between where the base clips were. So the base clips are on this first one. This upper clips are on the second one up here. There's only 4, so there's not one at the front, but there's 1, 2, and then 3 and 4 back here. I'll show you them a little bit better once we actually get it off. But for now, we're pushing those clips in on the inner funnel. We're pushing that in and then pulling the outer canister up. And that'll come right off. To get this funnel off, these screws are slightly smaller. They're the T8 size. And you can use your magnet to make sure that you don't lose any. And there we go. That's where most of your dirt and that fine dirt is going to be before it gets to that filter there. So I want to show you these clips a little bit better that are holding it in. Again, this funnel is there attached to the main part with those screws. This is clipping into the center funnel like so. I'm not going to clip it in right now so I can show you, but here on the bottom we can see those clips right there are what hold it in. So they're in there like that. So as this is mounted, remember there's a screw there, and as we're pulling out on these pieces, we can unclip that there to be able to get it out and get it up, right? So that's what you're working with on the bottom side. All right, so you'll notice here once these are out completely, it still doesn't come out, and that's due to these clips at the top. They're hard to see while it's in there, so I'll give you a better view here in just a second. They're clipping onto this outside edge, and here we can see them. That groove right there, this holds it from going down further, but that groove right there is what's holding it in place. There's 4 of them around. 1, 2, 3, 4. To clarify a little bit, these are just plastic. Give them a good wash. This is mostly just plastic as well. Lots of fine dust in here that you can wash out. Just make sure that it gets nice and dry before you put it back together. To put it back together, we're just going to go in reverse order, starting with this. There's a very clear front that aligns with that rubber seal. Putting our T8 screws back in. From there, we're putting this outside canister around it. There is a small clip that you can line up here. Let's see if we can get a good view of that. So there's a small clip right there that lines up with the front. Again, these are those clips that are really holding it in place, so you're going to hear it snap in. Kind of pushing down all the way around it, and once it's in, it's going to be a pain to get back off. From there, we have that latch to put on. We still got our screws there, so we didn't lose track of them or get them mixed up. Slide it back in place right around that rubber seal. and these are the larger T10. And then we're ready to put all the main parts back together. First, putting your canister back on, lining up the prongs there. Then we can put our top part back in. Slides right down. Filter can go back in, make sure that filter is dry, and you're good to go.